welcome everybody to our Windows 11 Pro Tips, Getting Started with Windows 11 webinar. This is part of our learning series webinars, which helps you get more return on your investment in technology. Thank you for joining our session today. And before we begin and jump in, let me first introduce myself and our presenter. So I am Dave DelVecchio. I am the Vice President of Marketing Communications for Sourcepass. And I'm old enough to remember planning from Windows 95 to 98 to 2000 to, all of the versions of Windows that have gone through along the way. Much like pre-pandemic, people planning for Windows 7 replacements up to 10, we're at that point where folks are midstream quite often and moving from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So today's topic is quite applicable to many of you. The meat of today's presentation is going to be produced by and presented by Jolynn Renn. Jolynn is a familiar name to many of you who've watched our learning series webinars over the last year. She is from the virtual training company as a Microsoft Master Instructor. She too has over 30 years experience in helping folks with professional development training around the use of technology. As we begin, just wanted to provide a little context if you're a first-time participant in one of our learning series webinars. As I mentioned, this series helps you best utilize the investment in technology you may already have. And for the vast majority of our clients, that's a heavy reliance on the Microsoft ecosystem. And so in addition to today's topic around Windows 11, if you visit our video library online, you can actually go back and view many of the sessions we've run over the last 12 months on everything from Teams to Power BI. So please take advantage of that resource. We run these learning series webinars on the second Wednesday of every month. For those of you that may be part of a state or local government or education vertical market, be aware we're actually going to be starting up a dedicated gov-focused series where folks who are involved in those traditional SLED organizations can get more out of their technology as well. So do keep an eye on your inbox. You should be receiving invites if you're in that market for us. If not, feel free to shoot a note to events@sourcepass.com. We'll get you an invite. Future sessions, if you want to keep an eye on things coming up, should be viewable at sourcepass.com/events. And as I mentioned, the video library can be found at sourcepass.com/video-library. Both of those are available through the menu system on sourcepass.com as well. So a couple of housekeeping items as we get ready to begin. If you have any questions along the way, the Q&A should be active on this session. So use the Q&A button to pose any questions. We may try to tackle a few in line, but we'll definitely review those before we sign off today, and we'll answer any that are unaddressed towards the end. Following today's session, Kat Irizarry, who's working on the back end helping to produce this webinar as part of our events team, will be sending out a post-event survey, and we welcome your feedback both on how we do today, as well as ideas around topics you might be interested in having us pursue as we plan our future calendar. So with that, my job here at the outset is done. I will turn over the floor to Jolynn Renn, who will lead the meat of today's session. Jolynn, take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Dave. So welcome everyone to the session on Windows 11. Windows 11 is not brand new. Of course, there's been updates to the operating system, but it's something that has been out for a while. And the reason that we wanted to do this session, of course, is because the support for Windows 10 is coming to an end. So most organizations right now are either transitioning or have already started kind of a transition, or they're getting ready to start a transition to get everybody moved over to Windows 11 so that they will continue to get the Microsoft support that can be needed with the different updates and, especially when we think about security and different things like that. But I gotta say, when Windows 11 first came out, I was a little skeptical on changing from Windows 10 because Windows 10 really was the platform that we used for quite a while, and we got very comfortable with how everything worked. But I got to tell you, Windows 11 is the future. This is an easier to use operating system because it works and feels like our other Microsoft apps. So we have a lot of easy transition when it comes to that. Now, of course, there is a lot of security things that are in the background. We're not going to worry so much about all those security things that have been upgraded or changed because, of course, with AI technology and different things, Microsoft, of course, has to keep up with all the security things in the background. What I want to talk to you about today more is, what is going to be different? Where are you going to find things? How are you going to use the new tools that you have? So one of the things that was kind of a surprise to everybody at the very beginning is the new taskbar. So when we think about, how you access your apps, the ones that you use on a regular basis, of course, we have those down on the taskbar. But by default, the taskbar is centered. Now, I will show you if you wanted to change it, you could change it to go back to the left-hand side. But by default now, the taskbar is going to be centered across your window. So when you look at my taskbar has been modified. I have shortcuts, just like we've always been able to do on the taskbar. I have shortcuts to the applications that I use on a regular basis, like Outlook, Teams, Excel, Word, that kind of a thing. But you're also going to notice that the Start menu is next to the search. You don't need to have the search if you don't want it. I'll show you, you can turn things on and turn things off because we have full capability of customizing this taskbar, just like we have in the past, but even more so now in Windows 11. So I'll go through some of that with you today and some of the big changes that we have. But I really kind of want to start on the left-hand side and kind of work my way back to the left-hand side of the taskbar to get started. So on the left-hand side, the first thing that you're going to, on the right-hand side of the screen, the first thing that you're going to see is I actually have, it's a bell, and you can see that it's got a couple of Z's on it. So that is where we can access notifications. Just seeing on my notifications pane is the fact that I have my Do Not Disturb is turned on because, of course, it's reading it from my calendar because my calendar knows that I'm actually in this session. So it automatically is Do Not Disturb. If I wanted to change the notification settings, I can go into the settings directly from this window. Otherwise, it's going to show me other notifications that have come in. So I'm just going to kind of scroll down on these just to kind of show you. So I got a couple of notifications here, not much because I've already been in them today because it's kind of a habit of mine to go in there and see what my new notifications are. So I'm just going to go to the top right and click Clear All. So I have no more notifications in my window, but notifications will automatically appear in here that you can see what you have going on in the background. Now, of course, your notifications are going to be banner notifications at the bottom right. You're going to get notifications in Teams, in Outlook, in To Do. Those are notifications that can show up here as well. So it's just kind of a secondary place to get notifications. But the other part of this pop-up window is called Focus. Microsoft has a lot of different places that we can schedule focus time. Focus time is a way for us to go back and reflect on, I need to focus my time during, this hour, this 30 minutes to get some tasks done, or to work on this project, or to work on these reports, whatever the case might be. And part of this notifications window is to access the focus capability. Focus can also be done through your Outlook calendar and other places, but this is kind of the main Windows area when we talk about Windows 11. So when you're looking at this, it shows a 30-minute focus time by default. But if I want to set up a focus time for other time periods or other days, I can click the up arrow. The up arrow will give me the window for all of the calendar where I could say, I want to set up some focus time for the 13th, for the 14th, whatever. And I can say I want it to be however many minutes that I want to add to my calendar to say I just need to have some focus time on working on some specific areas. I won't go any further on that today, but just so you are aware that you can have that. And it does a little timer for you, by the way. On the bottom right, it will show a timer as to how much focus time you have left before you get back to working, checking your emails again and things like that. But anyway, that's a kind of a big part of using Microsoft apps these days, is to set up these focus times. But I'm just going to click the icon again to close that pane. So once again, I click the icon to open it, click it to close it. There is a change with your calendar and your date and time, basically. If you hesitate on that date and time, of course, you can see it shows both. But if you right click, this is where you could go in to adjust your date and time. So if you are in a different time zone and you want to switch it over, or you want to set it up so that it automatically adjusts to whichever time zone you're in. Dave travels a lot, so if Dave's in a different time zone, he can have his Windows 11 automatically adjust to whichever time zone you're in. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that to show you what that does by default. So it's going to take you directly into your settings, but it's going to take you right to the category. And by the way, when you look at this settings window, that's a big difference in Windows 11. The way that those settings window was before, boy, it's hard for me to even remember back in Windows 10 how it used to look. This is a totally revised settings window. Notice on the left-hand side, you can search for a settings. Otherwise, you have your main categories. Whatever you click on, it displays your content on the right-hand side. So now it is set up just like your other apps. Like if you go into Teams, your navigation is on the left. Whatever you click on displays on the right. So it works just the way everything else does. So the learning curve of understanding how things work and look is going to be a lot smoother because it's like everything else. Microsoft. But as you can see, when you come into this, it's time and language, and then I'm in the date and time category. I can see that right here at the top. You can see the time zone, and I have region. If I wanted to turn off my automatic time zone, I could slide the button over. So we use the slider buttons just like we do in all other apps now. So it's consistent here in the settings with Windows 11 as well, which makes it so much easier on us as end users. But I would recommend really kind of going through some of these settings, scrolling all the way down and see what your choices are. Sometimes things will be a little hidden. Sometimes you have to go into a sub menu to find something. And when we talk about modifying the taskbar, that's going to be one of those. So I'll come back to that in a moment. I'm going to go ahead and close the settings window for right now. I'll pop back in here in a moment. But if you wanted to modify your notifications, you could go to the bottom right on that clock, the time, the date and time, and right click again, and you could access your notification settings from here as well, which will take you back into your settings, which I could have gone over to the system when I was here last 2 seconds ago. I could have just gone over to system notifications, but you may not understand that notifications is in the system category. So sometimes I just use find a setting. Type in what I'm looking for and it will automatically take me there. But you can see we have things like our do not disturb options. We can turn it on automatically. You can turn on notifications or turn them off. Also, this is where you have access to the focus categories. And then it's notifications from your other apps. You can turn the notifications on and turn them off. So if you don't want to get the battery notification, I wouldn't turn that off, but just so you know, as you scroll down, you can see these are all the notifications that you can end up getting. If you don't want a notification from one of these, slide the button over. It's super easy to make those changes, but you get notifications from a lot of different things, especially if you have your phone connected. And I actually have my phone connected. There's a lot of settings in Windows 11 that we have better control over accessing external devices. But we'll tackle that in another session. I'm going to close the settings for right now. And I want to talk about your system tray at the bottom right. You will see that you will be able to see if you're doing a wireless connection. Like right now, I'm hesitating on my wireless icon, and you can see I'm connected to my internet access through Bob. Bob is my Starlink, just so you know. But the way that you switch, so I'm going to go to a different location and I'm going to switch to a different Wi-Fi or whatever. That area has changed a lot in Windows 11. It took me a minute and I was a little confused at first. So let me go ahead and click on that. I'm going to click the icon for Wi-Fi. When you click the icon for Wi-Fi, it's automatically going to bring up a big window of different actions that you can do. So it's got your Bluetooth, it's got airplane mode, it's got energy saver, all kinds of different things. But the thing I was confused about at first was I saw the Wi-Fi icon and I clicked it. What that did was actually turned off my Wi-Fi. So don't click the icon for Wi-Fi. That's your toggle button to turn it on and turn it off. If you need to switch your internet connection, click the arrow. The arrow will take you into the different choices you have for your local Wi-Fi. Now, of course, you do have a slider button to turn it on and turn it off from there as well. But I'm just going to click the back arrow to go back to the window because we also have the Bluetooth capability directly from here. Right now, I'm not connected to my Bluetooth. If I wanted to connect to it, I could click the button and have access to my Bluetooth. So it's really a click to turn on, click to turn off, click the arrow to access the different options for your Bluetooth. We also can easily toggle on and toggle off the airplane mode. So when Dave's traveling, if he needs to be in airplane mode, he has that capability of doing that. And what I also like is we also have our brightness control and our volume control here as well. We can see our battery for our, if you're using a laptop, if you're not plugged in, of course, you can see all of that, but it also is going to show your charging percentage. So right now I'm at 90%. So just so you can see you have access to that. There is a gears icon located at the bottom right that you can access all your settings. That will take you back into the settings window that I was previously in. So if I'm on the home category when I'm in the settings, home category gives you information about your actual computer that you're using. I could rename it. And on the right-hand side, it's showing me different details that are happening in the background. Like I can see where I'm connected, whether I was connected to whatever system. Also, I can see my Windows updates. It was last checked 44 minutes ago. I do have automatic Windows updates, and I am using the most current Windows update for Windows 11. Now, of course, when there is a new update for Windows, just like we've had in the past, but I'm not referring back to ME and some of those bad operating system versions we had. But when you get an update, remember sometimes when something is first released, it doesn't always come out perfect. It may not be 100%. They might need to tweak things a little bit. So sometimes they're going to do another release, another update a few weeks later. Because yes, they test and they test and they test, but some things can get changed. Some things happen. So anyway, if you have automatic updates, you may see those on a more regular basis when they have a major update, which they just did. They had a major update here in March. I've already updated to that major update, and there's some tweaky things that need to happen. I'm seeing some things that aren't working the way that they're supposed to, so I'm assuming in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have a new update that I'll need to run. Companies don't always jump on the bandwagon, and this is kind of a thing we've learned throughout the years since Windows was released, which I started with computers before Windows came out. I was back in the DOS days, but that ages me. But anyway, when we talk about, a company updating, and this is important to kind of think about with your organization, we don't always jump on the bandwagon to immediately jump to the next update because we need to test it. back in the background, your MSP or your IT is going to help to make sure that all of your systems are going to work with these new updates. It isn't something that we always want an end user to always run these updates, because if you have older technology that you need to use, you're going to need access to, we need to double check to make sure that Windows 11 and this current update, any current update, is going to work okay with that. Whether it's peripherals, so you have, you know, an old copier that's on your network, or you have a printer, whatever the device might be, we need to make sure that the hardware is going to be able to work with the software as well. So we need to make sure that we're doing these tests. Also, are you going to jump out there and, you know, replace all new equipment, all new hardware to make sure that it's updated? Sometimes there's going to be an update we can do on that hardware, like a simple upgrade from, I shouldn't say simple, sorry. We can do an upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11. But you have a time period on when you're going to be able to do that for free as an organization. So we always want to be a little careful with things like that and make sure that we do it during that free time when they're offering that update for free. Otherwise, if we have Windows 11 laptops and we have 400 of them, you know, we don't want to have to pay to go to Windows 11. But new equipment that you go to buy today. So if we're going to say everybody in the marketing department is getting new laptops, when you go to buy something, it's going to come with the latest updates. It's going to come with the latest operating system, I should say. And whenever that equipment was packaged, so whenever that was released, so if the laptop that I'm buying for the marketing department, all the laptops, if they were released 3 months ago, it's going to have that update from 3 months ago. It may not have the update that I just got a couple of days ago. So of course, IT or who's ever your MSP setting these up, they would take care of making sure that everything is up to speed and that everything's going to work with all of your other software and your other hardware. So it's not just the hardware we have to think about. Is my printer going to work? You know, those types of things. We have to think about the software as well, because there could be a legendary software application that this department has to have access to that doesn't work with this update. We may need to stay with Windows 11, but this older version of Windows 11. So all of that, of course, can be maintained and worked through with your MSPs. So just some side notes to be thinking about. But anyway, when we are kind of talking about these changes that we have to the taskbar, I'm just going to go ahead and close the settings window again. Excuse me. The other things that I wanted to talk about that are located at the bottom right, you still get access to your speakers, you get access to your battery. Of course, you can hesitate over those and see further information. Also, you're going to see a microphone icon. My microphone is selected right now because it knows I'm on a call. I'm on a meeting online. So my microphone can be toggled on and off. I can mute it and unmute it directly from that icon on the system tray, which is great that we can do that. Also, next to it, I personally have 2 OneDrives. I have my personal OneDrive and I have my business OneDrive. So I have my icons visible right now to show both of those clouds. I like to see those because if there's an issue, it will give me a slash through it, a circle with a slash, so I know something is wrong, it's not connected. So I just like to visually see those. But if I go to the up arrow like we had with Windows 10, we can see the other system tray icons. So I can see my Bluetooth, I can see I'm connected to my phone, I have my Copilot, all of these other apps that I have running in the background. Now, of course, all of that can be controlled like it was with other operating systems. If I just go to the taskbar itself, to a blank area of the taskbar, I can right-click to get a pop-up menu. The 2 things on the pop-up menu is your task manager, which of course you can access your task manager by going to Control-Alt-Delete opens up to get into your task manager as well. The three-finger salute, we always called it. But if you wanted to access it, you could do it this way as well. Otherwise, I can get into my taskbar settings from here. So if I go into my taskbar settings, it's going to take me back to my settings window where we will go directly to the personalized category, and it takes us to the taskbar settings. From the taskbar settings, you can turn on and turn off different features. We have the search box up at the top. We have our task views. We have this new feature called widgets, which I'll get to in just a moment. All of these things can be turned on and turned off, depending on what you need. This is a personal preference. Not everybody wants the widgets. Some people are letting me know that that is not something they like to have happen when they go to the left-hand side. I'll explain that more in a second. But I do want to scroll down a little bit because it's kind of a hidden feature, but it's something you need to understand, and it's the taskbar behaviors. If you click the down arrow for taskbar behaviors, this gives you another full menu of different options like your taskbar alignment. By default, that taskbar is centered, but if you would prefer to put it back to the left where it was before, you could do that. But I do encourage you to give it a try to be centered. I really like it, but not everybody does. So just so you know, you can change it. But you should kind of run through these other options to see what do I need turned on, what don't I need turned on. Show my taskbar on all displays so I can, if I'm doing dual windows, I have multiple monitors, I want my taskbar to be visible, those types of things. So definitely scroll down and see what it is that you want to turn on and turn off. Okay, even changing the taskbar color is available way down at the bottom. You can get help with your taskbar from here as well, as far as changing it, pinning your favorites, different things like that. But anyway, this is what you'll see when you go into the taskbar settings. I'm going to close that settings window for right now because I want to talk about your icons that you're going to see. Just like we did with the other versions of Windows, you can always open an app and then pin it. So as an example, if I go to the search and I click the search like you always did before, the search menu is different. It's very different from our search menu before. It's going to actually show all kinds of different search from the internet and searches I've done on my computer on this search bar. But it's showing me search from my internet connection as well. So when you click in that search bar, it's a lot different than it was before. It's more intuitive to what it is that you've been doing. And it gives you these tiles, different tiles on the right-hand side that we can control what we're actually seeing. These are live connections. So if you remember back Windows 10, how we had tiles that were live tiles, we don't necessarily, they're not called tiles anymore. They're called widgets, but we can have these widgets show up here in the search as well. But anyway, just so you can see, this is what you're going to get. But if I wanted to find something, I just start typing it. In that search, if I start typing PO, it brings up a more powerful search than we've ever had before. It's categorizing on the left-hand side. It's searching everywhere. So we have some filters up at the top. So if I want to just search for web-related, document-related, settings, folders, etc., I can narrow down by filtering, but otherwise it's searching everywhere. So it's got a best match. It's got applications that begin with those letters. Searches from the web that I've recently done or that are common. I didn't search for either of these, but these were common based on the PO scenario. And then it has folders. So it can search folders that I've recently been in as well. Let's say that I want to go to this Copilot introduction. If I go into this Copilot introduction, what's going to happen with this is it's taking me into the PowerPoint, but that's not pinned on my taskbar. Just like we did before, if I go to that icon, I could right click on it and I could pin it just like we always did before. and it still gives me my recent list like it did in Windows 10. So that part really didn't change much. Now I'm just going to go ahead and close this because all I wanted to show you, and by the way, just so you know, any of the icons on the taskbar that have the bar underneath it, those are the ones that I have open windows for. So I have a Word document open, I have File Explorer open, I have my internet browser open, so and my Teams, my Outlook, PowerPoint, because they all have the bar underneath them. I have a shortcut for Excel, but I don't have a workbook open in Excel. So just so you know, everything on the taskbar has a rhyme and a reason to it. Now I'm just going to close PowerPoint, and I didn't pin it. So of course, when I close it, it disappears like it always did before. You can control which icons you want to see on the taskbar, because you could have had an icon for Teams. You could have had a different icon for Copilot, but I have the Copilot icon because I use it on a regular basis. So Copilot is a standard icon that is coming from the system. I didn't have to pin it. It came automatically through Windows 11 because we have Copilot capabilities directly built in, just so you're aware of that. But one of the things on the taskbar that has changed that I want to mention is not we, but Microsoft has enhanced the capabilities of using multiple desktops. So we can have all of these icons open in one desktop. So I'm in desktop 1 right now, but if I want to have a different desktop open with different internet or other applications open, I click New Desktop. So let's say that I'm actually working on a specific project, and now I'm in a different desktop, and I want to go to the internet, and I want to be searching for this, and I'm working on a project, and that project needs an Excel document open as well. I can be opening up all of these different applications that are in a different desktop. That's not new. That is not new. So how is this changed? So let's say that I go into an Excel workbook. So everything on this desktop is all related to a specific project that I'm working on. But now I need to get back to that other desktop. I can hesitate back on the task icon on my taskbar, and I can see desktop 1 and I can see desktop 2. But what has been enhanced is I can rename the desktops. So if I have a desktop that is actually for a project I'm working on, I right click on it, left click on rename, and I'm going to say project, whatever the name of the project is. So everything on that desktop is going to be related to working with that. I don't know about you, but I do this on a pretty regular basis. I don't take advantage of this as much as I should. I find myself on an internet browser, I have 15 different windows open, tabs open across the top of my internet browser, and they're not organized very well. I'm searching for this topic, I'm searching for this topic. If I had a desktop just for the project I was working on, everything there can be related just to that. My other desktop can be for whatever else I'm multitasking on, and now with the new Windows 11, we can have more than 2 desktops. So in the old version of Windows 10, we could only have 2 different desktops. I could continue to add additional desktops by hesitating on that icon and then clicking on New Desktop. If I want to close a desktop, I can go to that desktop icon, click the X to close it. I can't close, of course, my original, but it will automatically close that one. So if I come back to desktop 1, if I still had things that were open in that desktop 2, and I did close them before closing the desktop, they're now automatically open in the desktop 1. So you're not going to lose the websites that you were at, the workbooks that you had open, the files that you had open. But for me, this is an easier way to keep track of what am I working on. Everything that I'm working on that is related to this topic is in this desktop. What's related to this topic is in this desktop, etc., etc. I have had, I think the most desktops I've ever created was 3 or 4. I don't usually go beyond that because technically you're not supposed to multitask too much, but I know I'm going to be working on these things right now, and then in a little while, I'm going to be in a meeting and I need these things. I can have them open in different desktops. What a great way to be organized. I love that feature. But let me continue because we'll run out of time before I get done with all of our topics today. So I'm going to close my Excel workbook. I really don't need it. I could have closed it when it was still in that other desktop. But back to the actual taskbar again for a moment. So we have that capability of multiple desktops, which is absolutely fantastic. We briefly talked about the search, but what I want to talk about next is the start menu. Not only is the start menu part of the taskbar that is now centered, but it's been redesigned. And it's going to be redesigned again in this next update. When you click on the start menu, if you recall in Windows 10, it will pop up a menu, and on the left-hand side, it gave you these different categories that were alphabetized. So your application showed up alphabetized, and you had your settings from there. You had your restart, your power button, that kind of a thing. That was all in that start menu located in that little pop-up window. It doesn't work that way anymore. And it's being even enhanced more in the next couple of weeks. So it's part of the updates that are coming in 2025 to Windows 11. So Windows 11 has been around for a little bit already, but now they're even updating that. So, and that's all in your handout that's available as well. But how does this work? One of the big things is at the top, your cursor is automatically in the search for applications, settings, and documents. So from the start menu, you can go straight there. We have a pinned category. So in that pinned category, you can pin, or it's going to show recent apps that you use. So I can pin and unpin. So like if I don't want the Microsoft Store here, I can right click on it and unpin it from the start menu. So like we could before, we can pin and unpin things from the start menu. We can also pin or unpin from the taskbar, depending on the icon that you select. If you wanted to see a list of every app you have available, at the top right, you can click all. All is going to take you back into the more familiar Windows 10 look of the alphabetized apps that you have available. So as I kind of scroll down, you can see these different apps. If you right click on the name of any of these apps, it's going to pop up a window giving you quick, easy access to several different things related to that app. It's going to give you unpinning. It's going to give you a more category. It's also going to give you an all. So if something was installed, this is one way to get into uninstalling it. So if you didn't want it on your computer anymore. Otherwise, I right-clicked on OneNote notebook, so it's showing me my recent OneNote notebooks. So if I wanted to quickly and easily get back into a notebook, this would be a quick way to do that. Also, I have my quick notes and my sticky notes and stuff down at the bottom. But just so you can see, that's a way that we manage this new start menu. I'm going to click the back arrow at the top right to go back to the main menu of Start. Down at the bottom, I'm going to find Recommended. Recommended is referring to recommended apps and recommended files that I've recently been into. So it's giving us access to a lot of different things. If I go to the More category for that piece of the start menu, it takes me into all of the recommended. It's showing me my recent files. So it's another way to access recent information. But I'm going to click the back arrow again. And then at the very bottom, it has your account information. So if you want to access your account that is set up in your Windows, you could click on the icon at the bottom left. But if you wanted to shut down your computer, or you want to restart your computer, you will come to the Start menu, and at the bottom right, you can click on the Power button. Another part of the taskbar that I want to mention before we go into File Explorer and Windows Explorer is on the left-hand side on my taskbar, you can see a number 8 with an image. I'm going to hesitate on that, and it's going to actually bring up a window that is actually the widgets. Widgets are going to be your live tiles. These are in a separate place than the Start menu, because in Windows 10, the apps and the tiles were all in the same place. Now they're separated. So these are the widgets that we can control. We can add widgets. We can tell it which widgets we want to see, how big the widget window should be. We can manage all of this. But this gives you quick, easy access to live widgets, what we used to call live tiles, live widgets that are constantly updating. So you can see I've got news, I've got specific ABC news, I've got top stories. On the right-hand side, I've got weather, where I can control which weather I want to see. I've even got traffic information. But you can control all of this, whatever you want to see, by going one way is to go to the top right, click on the gears icon for your settings. So I really do like this widgets. I use it all the time. And whatever widget you were basically kind of looking at last, or what's been recently updated, automatically shows down at the bottom. So if you want to have your weather down at the bottom all the time, those types of things, you can do that. But you can come in and personalize this. You can discover new widgets. You can change notifications. You can show or hide different things. The widgets can be completely turned off. If you don't want to see them, you could always go back and turn your widgets off, just so you're aware. That was part of your taskbar settings. So anyway, widgets are similar to what we had with the live tiles in the Start menu, but everybody didn't want to see them when they went to Start. Microsoft kind of was told, people would rather have them be separate and be able to turn them off if we didn't want them. So now in Windows 11, they are separate tools to use. Okay. But let's continue, because there's a little bit more that I want to cover with you. Next thing that I want to talk about is your Internet Explorer. So if you go into Internet Explorer, whichever browser you're using, I happen to be using Microsoft Edge. So Microsoft Edge is directly connected with your Microsoft apps. So, and it has built-in Copilot capabilities. So if you don't use Microsoft Edge, you're using something else, and I won't mention names, you may want to consider using this. It is, of course, completely customizable, but what are the changes with Windows 11? Well, one of the changes that you're going to see with Windows 11 is we had some of these capabilities in Windows 10, but they really didn't give us much. They didn't give us as much as we have now. One of them is going to be at the top right. I will have Copilot. So if I want to use Copilot, I click the Copilot icon, it's going to automatically open Copilot. Copilot, of course, is Microsoft's AI tool that you can have a free account, or you can have an account that is directly connected to your 365 apps. I won't worry so much about how to use Copilot. We can do a different session for that. But just so you're aware that you do have access to that. If you want to add a new tab, you're looking at something here. Like, let's say I go into this article from MSN and it loads that article. I can still go into other tabs by clicking on the plus sign. You still have all those same capabilities that we had before. So maybe I want to log into my Microsoft account, and I'm just going to open up. I got to move this window here real quick. If I want to open up anything else, I can just keep going and opening up all these other things. So maybe I want to go into a SharePoint site. So I can have all these different tabs that I'm going into for all these different items. So I can have all these different tabs open. But one of the things that is great here in this new version is I'm going to right click on a tab. I'm going to right click on a tab. You can see we have a enhanced menu when we right click. I can add a tab to a new group. A group is back to the multitasking. If I'm looking up things that are related to this, I have other things that I'm looking up that are related to this, and I've got 10 tabs open. I can have tabs be grouped together. So I'm going to actually, I right-clicked on my Microsoft account. I'm going to add tab to a new group. I can give the group a name. So I'm just going to name it Microsoft 365. And I can choose a color. And then I'm going to press enter. So I have this Microsoft 365 group. And my SharePoint site, I want that tab to be a part of that group as well. I can right-click and say Add tab to group. If I had more than one group, I could see a list of the names of the groups, but I want to add it to the group I just created, Microsoft 365. It moves that tab to that group. Notice I've the colored bar for it, and Microsoft 365 shows that color. I have these tabs underneath that color, but this longest tornadoes in the world, that's not part of that. If I add another new tab, that's not going to be a part of it either. So maybe I go into Google Maps. I could have the tornadoes in the Google Maps because maybe I'm looking up where the location of the tornadoes were that just happened in Florida, whatever. I could right click and I could add tabs to a new group. Maybe I want this new group to be related to Florida weather or whatever I want to call things because I'm working on these. I could have my Google Maps be a part of that group as well. And I, of course, can have different colors for them. So now these are all going underneath that color. These are under that color, and it makes it so much easier to find what you're doing. I tell you, this is one of my favorite things because I am always opening multiple tabs to work in. So this is a great, easy way to be able to know which tabs are related to which. The other day I had, I'm going to say probably 15 to 20 tabs open because I was looking up information on this. I was looking up information on this and another topic. I had 3 different topics and I went and got coffee, whatever. I came back and I looked at my tabs and I'm like, now which ones were related to which ones are which? Now I'm kind of confused. And I'm like, I need to practice what I talk about in my sessions. And I started grouping them together. It's like, why did it take me so long to kind of figure that out that day? We need to be changing our habits. So that's something I am definitely working on because otherwise I was wasting a lot of time trying to figure out which one was which. Much easier to control. But we have some other things that are related to this as well. You can see on the left-hand side, when I'm here in this, and right now I'm in Google Maps, on the left-hand side, I'm seeing a menu related to Google Maps. If I go to the SharePoint site, of course, I'm not going to see that. Things will be a little bit different when you go to different apps as well. But let me go to the left-hand side. The left-hand side at the very top, when you come into your internet browser, is different controls related to first your account icon over on the very left-hand side. But I also have this icon called Workspaces. We can create workspaces so that we can control where things go, and we have this collaborative place that we can actually be putting and saving things to. So when we think about workspaces and other apps that we have, Microsoft Edge has workspace capabilities as well. I'm not going to take you into all the details on that today, but just so you're aware that you could create a new workspace and you could be adding things to that workspace. We also have this tab actions menu. So this third icon from the left-hand side, this is one way that we can control the way that our tabs are being organized. We can turn on vertical tabs. So if we don't want the tabs going across the top, we can have vertical tabs going down the side as well. We could do search from there. We can organize the tab. We can recently closed tabs can be reopened. We can even go to tabs from other devices that we are connected to. But one of the things that is, if you don't already have the latest updates, and when you have the latest updates to Windows Edge, it also will put tabs to sleep. If you have tabs that are open that you haven't been to in 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, I think it's set up for 1 hour. If you have tabs that have been inactive, you haven't clicked on them in the past hour, I think that can be controlled as well. They actually gray shade themselves out. But anyway, other things that I wanted to mention, you do have your URL, your search up the top for wherever you're currently at. In that row underneath, it's the second row from the top. You do, of course, get your back, so you can go back to the previous window. You get your refresh, which needs to be used quite often. We have your home icon if you want to see that. That is something that you can turn on and turn off. But where you access your favorites, like if I want to save something as a favorite, we can edit the favorites page or add something to be a favorite. So if I'm on a page that isn't a favorite, I could click the star to add it to my favorites. Just so you could see, I can give it a name. I can choose where I want it to be located at. I'm going to click the close button. I'm not really going to save that as a favorite. Oops, sorry. But just so you can see that you could do it very easily that way. We also have an icon for extensions, and we have the star icon, which is totally representing the favorites again. This is where you can get into your favorites menu. So the favorites with the lines, the star with the lines, that's going to be your favorites menu, where you can go in and you can still add things. You can control the folders. You could search. You could right click on any of your favorites, rename them, move them, whatever it is that you need to do. You can also be clicking and dragging your favorites icons. So if you want something to appear in a different location, you have your favorites bar up at the top, and you want to rearrange things, you most certainly can do that as well. But it is a menu, so it opens up a pane on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and just close that menu. The other things that you're going to see at the top right is we can send feedback to Microsoft, and you have your ... menu, which is, of course, what we use every place else in all of our other apps, so it's consistent in your Microsoft Edge as well. You're going to see the drop-down menu to be able to get into your settings, get into your favorites, all those things that we have normally had in the past with your internet browser. So that's a quick, easy way to access that. But for our last couple of minutes, I want to transition over into File Explorer. File Explorer has been revised as well with Windows 11. The navigation on your left-hand side and the menu going across the top is more user-friendly than it's ever been before. We are categorized on the left-hand side into groups. So my top group is going to take me to my home category, which when you first come in, it's going to go to the home category. I do have my preview turned on, by the way, which it's super easy to get to now because the ribbon at the top on the right-hand side gives you a preview button. But on the left-hand side, you'll also see that you can still pin things. So these are all my pinned items. You can always right-click and unpin things as well. So if you have something pinned, you don't want it to be pinned, you can always right-click. This is your quick access. So if I want to unpin it for my quick access, I can do that. Otherwise, anything that is a recent folder that you've been into, that will automatically show up on the left as well. But if I want to get back to a network drive, if I still had a network drive, or I want to get to my phone, or I want to get to my C drive, or I have an external device that I plugged in, that's going to be in a category down at the very bottom, just so you're aware. The menu across the top is actually pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to create new items, very consistent with your OneDrive and all your other apps as well. New gives you new folder shortcut, but it also gives you new files. So if you want to create a new Microsoft project or an Access database or whatever, you could do that directly from New. You will have your standard cut, copy, and paste. We also have sharing capabilities directly from the menu at the top. We have deleting, we have sorting, and your view options. So depending on how you want to be viewing your whatever folder or category you're in, I happen to be in a folder called business information. And when you're looking at these folders, if you do a right click, you're going to get a revised menu, which makes it so much easier to use. If I wanted to cut this and put it someplace else, we have cut, copy, rename, share, and delete commands across the top. Those were the most common, so Microsoft put them at the top to make it a smoother, easier transition. But otherwise, you can see you have automatic pinning, those types of things that you normally would see. But the right-click menu is more related to the way things look when we're in our other Microsoft apps. So definitely a great revision to using things related to your File Explorer. It's much easier than it's ever been to use. And if you go to a zip folder and things like that, the commands are going to be different when you right click, and commands can be added to the top ribbon that are related to that type of folder. I don't have one convenient here, but just so you're aware, you can get those additional commands related to that folder type. So if it's a zip folder, you'll be able to unzip it and things like that. Because this isn't, I don't get those commands. So it modifies the command menu based on the type of folder it is. If it's a zip, you'll be able to unzip it from the menu. But anyway, the File Explorer takes a little bit to kind of get used to, but it shouldn't be too bad because these icons across the ribbon at the top are exactly the same as how they look in all of your other 365 apps. So the learning transition has really been improved. I think Microsoft is really doing a great job on Windows 11 really matching all of the other apps that we are using with our Microsoft 365. So David, I'm going to throw it back to you and see if we had any questions that came from the group today.
Absolutely. We have one in the Q&A, and this is a good prompt. If anybody else has a question, now's a good time to start typing that out in the Q&A section. But in the context of the discussion around the Edge browser, the question was asked, can we auto-load tabs in groups? For example, 3 database locations, 2 SharePoint locations, Office 365 tabs, and more.
So could you say that one more time for me, David?
Yeah, can you auto-load tabs in groups? For example, 3 database locations and so forth.
Auto-load them. Huh. I don't know for sure if we could do that. Because these groups, so just to show everybody, if I close my browser, if I close my Edge browser window, if I go back into Edge again, just so everybody can see what's going to happen with this. If I go back into Edge, oops, sorry.
Copilot.
I clicked on Copilot.
That's a training for another day, Jolynn.
Exactly. My groups came back with me because I didn't close them before I left. So they are still here, and I can still expand them by clicking on the names of them. I have not seen that I could, automatically upload something to them. So I'm not sure the answer to that question. But I'm glad I closed it and reopened so people can see that the groups didn't disappear.
Very nice.
So you can come right back to them.
And Joe, who submitted the question, if you find you have a follow-up and you're looking for more information, feel free to contact us after the session. We'll try and hunt it down for you.
Absolutely.
So excellent. Jolynn, I just wanted to acknowledge, just for your benefit, there were probably 4 or 5 times where you broke up for 5 to 10 seconds during the course of the session. Oh. So just wanted to apologize for folks because one of the times was just long enough. I was about to jump in right when your connection reestablished, but I appreciate everybody sticking with us through the session with any of those slight delays. But let me go ahead and I'm going to steal the screen here and kind of start to bring this into wrap up now. There's a theme around this month's webinars, and we're really focusing on discussions around Windows 11 because the Windows 10 end of support countdown is on. We're just over 200 days away from end of support for Windows 10. As a result, we've got a lot of clients who are either midstream with a Windows 11 upgrade plan, or they're in the process of finalizing their Windows 11 upgrade plan. Our digital transformation series webinar that's coming up is on March 26th, 2 weeks from today, same time. It's 1:30 Eastern time. And the difference in the focus is this learning series was focused on the benefit, the user's perception and getting the most out of Windows 11. This session is going to be led by Rob Villano and Steve Cirillo, two of my favorite people in Sourcepass. Rob is a VCIO. Steve is part of our solutions engineering team, and they're going to talk to you about how to go about building your Windows 11 upgrade plan in your project. So if you're looking for more of a strategic discussion around Windows 11, please join us for this session. With that, if you need any help talking about Windows 11 or want to explore the concept further, always start with a reach out to your client success manager who's happy to be your information Sherpa and bring in the right people to that discussion. But Kat, who's on the back end, and myself monitor our events at sourcepass.com. We're happy to point you in the right direction as well. So thank you to everybody who joined us today and anybody who's watching us on video delay off of our video library page. Jolynn, thank you for your time. Let's all go out there and have a great rest of the month.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.